Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to this exciting book launch of Blood and Bombay Black. Let us know a little more about the book. I'm going to share my screen now. So, for those who haven't seen the book cover, this is the beautiful book cover that has come out. And I just want to know from the audience if you've all read Blood and Brown Sugar. Type a yes. Because if you haven't read it, it's an experience of a lifetime. And Lee has come up with the sequel. It was much anticipated, and everyone was waiting to know the fate of Alex Crossman and the characters that we have met before. But let me tell you guys, this book has so much more action, so much more thrilling, packed adventures that this is going to be a journey of a lifetime. So let us hear it from the author himself. But first, I will need to introduce him. Nolan was born in Toronto, Canada. He was the first Canadian-born member of his family whose roots are set firmly in Liverpool. True to his Generation X stereotype, Nolan's restlessness eventually led him to settle in the Asian subcontinent. With India as his base of operations, Nolan joined a motorcycle club and crisscrossed the country with reckless abandon. In October of 2021, Lee released his debut crime thriller fiction novel, Blood and Brown Sugar. It was voted Best Fiction Novel 2021 by Literary Voice magazine and awarded Best Crime Thriller 2021 by the SRG Lit Awards. He was also recognized by Ukiyo-e Publishing House as 2021's up and coming fiction author. The novel was optioned for a movie by Sanjay Gupta's White Feather Films and is currently being translated by Rajan's Prakashan Publishing House for a re-release in Marathi. His most recent work, A Crate of Rags and Bones, a collection of macabre short stories, launched in December of 2022, was praised by Neil De Silva as being an unputdownable read and destined for the Indian bestsellers list, which he made it to eventually. Nolan lives in Bombay with his wife, a sarcastic beagle named Sweeney Todd, and two very naughty motorcycles, Wilhelmina and Elvira. Lee, please unmute yourself. People are waiting to hear from you about this entire journey.
Wow. Well, first of all, every time I sort of speak immediately after my bio, I feel a bit, wow, do I live up to that, to that introduction? I guess Blood and Bombay Black was, wow, where do you even start with that? When I wrote Blood and Brown Sugar, it was, it's pretty well documented. I've said quite often that was a vehicle more to sort of relay all the new sights and sounds and smells and things that I'd been experiencing riding through India. I hadn't been in India that long when I first started writing Blood and Brown Sugar. And as the book progressed, and you can tell if you've read it that, through Alex's eyes, he's experiencing things in India for the first time. He's struggling with, the different facets of living in India that, we're not accustomed to in the West. But as the book progressed and the characters sort of took root, his story, which was always the primary focus, but it took on a much deeper meaning for me. So by the time I got to the end of the book, I didn't really have any choice but to sort of leave it. I wouldn't want to say cliffhanger because that's, I've always found that cliffhanging is a bit, it's cheating. But I knew the story wasn't done. And on top of that, there was so many secondary characters that I'd sort of given a little bit of the spotlight to. But they weren't that deep and they weren't that well developed originally when I set out to write the book because they weren't going to be that important. But certain characters, such as John Reeves and Sumit in Bombay, the Bombay chapter, they demanded more attention. They wanted more time on the page, and they started to scamper a little bit out of my control, especially John. And the next thing I know, he's showing up in India. He's killing the director of the NCB. He's doing all these things that he was never intended to do originally. And so when I got to the end of Blood and Brown Sugar, it was obvious that these people needed to tell their story as well. And as we know, the mess between Ipsita and Alex is far from resolved. So it was natural that there was going to be a sequel. So when I sat down to write it, I was fairly clear where it was gonna end up. And those of you that know me know that I'm not much of a plotter. I'm more of a character development guy, and then I just let them write the book. And as these strong characters had already sort of established themselves and had been vying for attention in the first book, and I already had a strong character base in the first book as well that I set out with initially, I thought it was going to be pretty easy. I knew where I was going to end up, and so I just let them run. But man, did they take me on a ride. And it had so many different twists and turns, and they just they were just misbehaving. They really, really were. And I couldn't control them for the most part. And I ended up going all kinds of places that just weren't anticipated, but I just let it go. I let it flow. And at the end of it all, when the dust settled, we were at like 130,000 words. I'm sure that Swarup may speak a little bit about this, or Niladri a bit later, but I ended up with a 130,000 word novel. It really got away from me, but I couldn't find any other way to tell the story. So here I was with this beast of a book, polished it up and pared it down as best I could, and just sort of sent it out there, sent it over to Leadstart and hope for the best. And the unfortunate thing about it is that I don't think the story's done yet. I tried my best to wrap it up. And while some of the major plot points that were left ambiguous in the first book have been definitively resolved, there's just a bunch of new ones now that have left me kind of curious what's gonna happen next. And so I guess we'll see. It was never intended to be written as a sequel. It was supposed to be more of a standalone book, and I believe it can be read that way. You don't necessarily have to have read Blood and Brown Sugar to enjoy Blood and Bombay Black, but it would help because there's a lot of backstory involved. And again, the people that have sort of steadfastly helped me along the way, as with all of my books, my wife, who I couldn't do anything without, for sure, Ruth. She just drives me forward at all times. And Niladri, yourself, and of course my publisher, who rolled the dice on me back in 2021 and took this unknown author, and so there's so many people that have helped and pushed me along, and I'm just so grateful because they're legitimately interested in the story, and that's, as a writer or as a storyteller, as an author, that's all you ever really want to do, is to reach out and touch people and affect people and sort of maybe take them out of their lives for even just a little while and sort of immerse them through the power of what you've written into a completely different world. And all the feedback I've got on Blood and Brown Sugar is that I managed to do exactly that. If people saying the most wonderful things to me, like unexpected things, like the nuggets of wisdom in between the lines, and that's, I wasn't intentionally planting nuggets of anything anywhere, but they came through, and it just warmed my heart. People mad at me because I've killed off certain characters, people praising me, saying it's a good thing you didn't kill off so-and-so because, they're my favorite. Other people saying, oh, they're my favorite character that I never expected to be a strong character, and yet they've affected people. And all these little pieces of the book just sort of came together. And I'm so pleased that the initial feedback that I've received on Blood and Bombay Black is that it's more of the same. And I'm absolutely thrilled to hear that. And I just massively thank everyone for taking an interest, and propelling me along as an author, because without anybody reading, I mean, I'd still write, but it wouldn't be as gratifying, I'm sure. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here. And yeah, let's have some fun tonight. Let's not make it a stuffy book lunch, okay? Let's just relax and have a good time.
Thank you, Lee. That was quite the perspective. I mean, we do see sequels coming out every now and then, but we do not understand the author's journey behind it, because between the first and the second book, there's a lot that goes on inside the author's mind. Will the audience relate to this book? Will they love it as much as the previous one? To have crossed all those mental blocks and have finally got the story out. Kudos to you, Lee. So we proceed with the speaker lineup. So next we have Swarup Nanda. Swarup Nanda is a creator economy entrepreneur, founder of Leadstart Publishing and co-founder of Pencil. Leadstart is a leading publishing house from India with creative and progressive focus, featuring distinguished authors and writing from across the globe. Pencil enables writers and publishers to create, improve, and monetize their stories. It also enables people to get their books published and distribute them globally as paperbacks and ebooks via its tech platform in 65 plus languages. It enables publishers to monetize the secondary rights by getting their IPs discovered by OTT platforms, studios, and producers in India and the US. Swarup has 17 plus years of experience in the media domain. Prior to being a founder and book publisher, he has been a part of the founding team of National Geographic Channel in India. Swarup sir, please share your
thank you.
insights about
please
the
don't
book.
call. Thanks, Chitra. Please don't call sirs. We generally don't follow that kind of a rhythm. I'm a little under the weather. I was skeptical of whether I'd be able to attend the launch, but I am here. I'll try and keep my conversation shorter. My interaction with Lee possibly started only I think less than maybe 6-7 months ago, though we've published 3 titles of him. I was not managing Leadstart for a fairly long period of time, about 8 years. A colleague of mine, a co-founder of mine, was managing it. So those interactions is what I have have some sense of who Lee was and how the editorial team was really excited of having this very different kind of gentleman being an author with a very different background than most of our authors. I guess somebody needs to mute. Cheers. So with Lee's writing, let me just keep it this way. So we've been associated with Lee's creative journey in many ways. Not only have we published 3 of his titles, which would have been 4. I think that is what Lee was kind of pointing out at, because I took over this piece in around June, July last year or something. And when Lee sent the submission, I looked at it, the editorial looked at it, we didn't think it would be making sense to do it as a duology. We thought it should be a trilogy. And we've had a bunch of forward and backward conversations with Lee. In fact, the agreement that was signed as a trilogy, but now it kind of got released as a set of 2. So that's why you have that larger title, that larger book here. As a part of Lee's creative journey, and as we explore his creative sides, and a bunch of things that we have seen and developed with him are his 3 books. We've worked with a podcast for him, and that kind of took off fairly well. If you haven't, do check up Lee's podcast on Spotify. I genuinely liked it. It gives you a different perspective into the riding and biking culture, some of which that Chetan and Lee were discussing before we started this meeting. We've done a horror story book with him as well. That's a short story title that we've done with him. We have managed to sell the first rights of his title to a director called Sanjay Gupta, the director of Kante and several other mainstream movies in India. We hope to see the transition to from his writing to cinema soon enough. So broadly, very happy and privileged to be a part of Lee's journey in multiple creative, explorations that Lee has: audio, video, AV, writing. All the best for the book. I'll try and keep myself short here. Thanks so much for organizing this. Cheers. Take care.
Thank you, Swarup. We will move to the next speaker. Just a second. Our next speaker is Chetan Mahajan. He's the co-founder of the Himalayan Writing Retreat, a published author. He quit the corporate world and moved to a village in the Himalayas to be a full-time author, blogger, and teacher almost a decade ago. The Himalayan Writing Retreat is all about helping people with their writing. He's also a writing coach with a London-based company. Chetan blogs about life in a Himalayan village at www.uncity.blog, which won the Indie Blogger Award for Humor in 2017. He's currently working on a novel and editing a non-fiction book. He often writes columns for the Reader's Digest, Mint, Outlook Magazine, Hindu Business Line, and the Hindustan Times. Chetan, I know you're in a hurry to catch a train. Please do share your views on the book. You're on mute. You're on mute.
I was saying I always have time for Lee. So firstly, thank you for inviting me. I think I've had a really tiny role to play in Lee's journey. He was a writer well before he came to us, which is unlike most people who land up at the retreat. And, my initial interactions with Lee, he came across as this very quiet, very humble, very kind of down-to-earth sort of guy. And then when I was reading his profile and I came across the names of Wilhelmina and Elvira is when I realized that he has this whole other side to him. And when I started reading his characters, I started worrying, saying, okay, do we want this guy at the retreat? Because people seem to be dying and smoking up hash and doing all kinds of crazy stuff in his books. But fortunately for me, the course that he did was online. So it was okay because we have enough space between us. But then I traveled to Bombay for one of my workshops and I actually met Lee in person, and it's been a great relationship. In fact, we have this community, I think, of about 400 people at the Himalayan Writing Retreat, and a few of the people are stalwarts in that community. And they're not stalwarts because of anything else except that they're able to give a lot of advice and share a lot of wisdom and give a lot of first-hand tips, guidance to writers. And Lee has very quickly become one of the stalwarts in that group. There's lots of other members from the group here, of course. Shalini is here, and Rajiv was here just a little while back. Chitra is here right now. So so lots of people, have actually learned from Lee. And I think it's fabulous to have someone like that, where he's learned things. Many of the things he's learned the hard way. And he's very generous in sharing what he's learned. So it's been awesome to see some of his journey. We've had conversations once in a while about, who his publishers are and what are the options available. But, and one of the things that you did not mention in the Leadstart introduction, by the way, is that Leadstart was was the publisher that first discovered Anand Neelkantan. And Anand Neelkantan then went on to write Bahubali and Bahubali 2, and he has now written so many successful books that he's quit his day job and he's now a full-time writer, both screenwriter as well as novel writer. So Leadstart is not some small-time publisher. It's a very well-respected, very well-known publisher, and I think Lee's in great hands with them. So I think it's excellent that they have this this great ecosystem which is supporting him. And I think at the Himalayan Writing Retreat, we are happy to have Lee in our ecosystem. He just needs to visit in person. You have to come up to the retreat sometime and hang out. We can bike around in the Himalayas together. That's always fun. And So all the best with this book. I did have a lot of fun reading Brown Sugar, Blood and Brown Sugar. And then, of course, there's a crate of Rags and Bones also, which I'm yet to get to, honestly. But I'm traveling to the mountains. That's where I'm taking the train to tonight. And this is going to be my traveling companion for tonight. So I'm going to be reading this on my way up. So yeah, all the best, Lee. Awesome to see the sequel. And I'm going to get to that the moment I'm done with this. I'm placing an order for it tonight. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Chetan. Thank you so much. Lee, do you have anything to say in response?
Yeah, I to both Swarup and Chetan, thank you. You've both been very supportive, and I know, Swarup, that we've only just sort of met. Like you said, I was being managed by other people when I first started out, but I mean, your support, especially through some of the more difficult challenges that we had to do with Blood and Bombay Black, has been amazing. And I think I know that I can trust and rely on your sort of publishing acumen. I don't have to worry about is that the right call, or I know that if you were, since I believe that you're being sincere, and that you have a vested interest in the success of not just my book, but of my career itself. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Chetan, well, hey, what can I say about you? I mean, we just right from, I think, the first time we talked, and we discovered we had that biker connection. We've always had sort of a kindred spirit sort of relationship, I guess, and your demeanor and what you're doing, I think, at the Himalayan Writing Retreat is just such a marvelous environment for writers, and not just newbies, not just fledgling writers or new writers. I mean, you very kindly said that I was a writer before I, interacted with you, but I have found so just as much support as you graciously said. I'm very active in the community, but I've received just as much support, and it's such a wonderful thing that you've created, where writers can sort of group together and share ideas and share inputs and thoughts, and sometimes argue, like we do. Sometimes we butt heads and we have differing viewpoints, and sometimes it gets a little heated, but it always gets resolved in the end. And I think it's always beneficial to those who participate. And I think that's a direct result of the environment that you've created, the thing that you've set out to do, and you've accomplished so wonderfully. And if I could just say, if any writers in the group that are considering taking a course, hey, Chetan is the man, I'm telling you, because he's a brilliant instructor. He seriously is. And the course that I took was sort of an introductory course, but by no means did I find it, lacking. I was completely involved and absorbed by the course and enjoyed it thoroughly. And his insights as not just a reader, but as someone that's well-versed in all things bookish, let's say, his insights and his take on things is really, it's solid ground, and I just, for all the things and all the things you've sort of guided me on, when we had those conversations, I appreciate that deeply, and thank you very much for all the kind words you've said tonight.
Hey, this is a promo for your book, boss. So I think we're going off track here.
Yeah, I think Chetan, thank you for your generous words. I'll just put that line in, and it's wonderful to actually see you. We've been interacting
yes, we've spoken on the phone
various different pieces, but I've never actually seen you. And a bunch of our writers have worked with you, and I think there are some secondary collaborations that have happened that way, including with Lee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
Chitra,
Thanks,
those really nice words that Lee was saying about me, can you just email me a clip of that video, please? I mean, it's just very, we should store such words, because when you feel down, or you're not feeling great, it's nice to just rewind and listen to stuff like that. It feels good.
Sure.
Thanks a lot, Lee. Thank you, Swarup.
Thank you, guys. Cheers. So let us move on to the next speaker, who is who is Hariharan. Lakshya Hariharan is a seasoned IT professional with over 20 years of experience, specializing in SaaS-based digital transformation cloud solutions. Amid the hustle of the IT industry, his true passion ignites on the open road where he rides through dust, winds, and rain, connecting with his soul and finding profound meaning in every journey. As a dedicated member of the elite motorcycle club Indian Bull Riders, Lakshya proudly manages the Bombay chapter, exemplifying brotherhood and discipline. His camaraderie with renowned author Mr. Nolan reflects a deep bond within the MC, reminiscent of a true army regiment where brothers unconditionally watch over each other. He's a soldier at heart and he honors the nation's defenders and continues to live a life steeped in military values. Beyond the corporate and the motorcycle realms, he wears the hat of a certified ballroom dance and Zumba instructor, infusing his weekends with rhythm and energy. Laksh's artistic flair extends to the dramatic stage, where he collaborates with the Manorang Theatre Group, tirelessly crafting and performing diverse theatre shows across the nation. After that wonderful interaction, even I would want to hear a lot from Laksh.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Personality.
Thank you. I'm also under the weather. So please bear with me. I hope I'm audible. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to actually speak about my association with Lee. I will take a minute there, and then I'll also share my experience of reading the book, Blood and Brown Sugar. It's truly an honor for me to stand before you today and share my profound connection with someone who has become more than a friend. He's a brother, he's a comrade, and a fellow dreamer. I'm here to talk about my close association with Mr. Nolan, a remarkable individual whom I have had the privilege of knowing him for about 5 years now. But our journey of becoming brothers was a gradual one, solidifying maybe over the past couple of months, especially when he moved to Bombay and joined the Bombay chapter of our club, India Bull Riders. But what brought us together is not just the passion of riding, but a shared belief in true sense of brotherhood within our club. A family where we are ready to go to any lengths to look out for each other. Discipline. Discipline is one of the virtue which we hold very dear to each other. And I must acknowledge that Lee takes it to a whole new level. His consistency and unwavering commitment to his regime are truly commendable. However, beyond our shared love for motorcycles and discipline, what binds us together is an artistic nature. We both find joy in expressing our thoughts and feelings through various art forms. Lee's fondness for creativity resonates with mine. One memorable incident that I would like to share here, which stands out, that happened very recently, is his thoughtful gesture of attending my theatrical production, Khane-Ishq. Despite the play being staged in Urdu, a language he might have definitely not understood fully, he stayed through the entire performance and congratulating me and showing the genuine appreciation for the heart. And what makes his gesture remarkable is that it was past his bedtime, a discipline that he adheres to religiously. Yet that night, he sacrificed his routine to support his brother in the club. And apart from that, Lee embodies the true spirit of brotherhood and devotion to art, which I've already mentioned. But the club's vision that we share it's our dream to making our club a close-knit brotherhood akin to the 1%ers motorcycle clubs that we have in the US. I don't know how much we'll be able to achieve together in this country, but we are really looking forward to do that. With that, I would extend my gratitude to Lee for giving me this opportunity to be part of this virtual launch of his sequel book, Blood and Bombay Black. I'm really eager to delve into the pages and absorb the essence of his storytelling. And I'm more excited about the prospect of bringing his stories to the silver screen, a dream that we both share as well. My friend Lee, thank you for camaraderie, the shared dreams, and the unspoken bond that makes our journey in the motorcycle club a truly memorable one. So cheers to that. But before I wrap up, I would also like to speak about my experience about reading this book, Blood and Bombay Sugar, Blood and Brown Sugar. That's because it's very nostalgic now that we are jumping into the sequel of the other book. The kind of curiosity, the first time when any reader picks up any book on his hand, he's going to read this part of the book at the back. And when he reads this particular piece, the way it has been written, I think I should also congratulate Leadstart to put up this kind of a thought process, which builds a lot of curiosity in the reader to not only persuade him to purchase the book, but at the same time makes him glued to the pages to read those content and actually delve into the storyline. One of the remarkable aspects of Lee's work is what I've experienced is intelligent and accessible use of language. Though through his words, he effortlessly bridges the cultural gap, creating a narrative that resonates not only with the people of India, but also, I'm sure, with readers across Europe and the US. The linguistic finesse is really a testament to Lee's storytelling prose and ability to weave a tale that transcends borders. And few other aspects, like in this book, Lee delves into the intricate process of a web of drug peddling, meticulously researching the transactions that unfold between nations, and the kind of research that he has done in the narrative that unfolds within the corners of dark cities where the packages change hands, setting the stage into a gripping and suspenseful storyline. And that's really very rare, because again, since Lee is new to this country, or was new to this country, getting into that depth of information to be portrayed in the book is really commendable. And another important aspect is the exploration of diverse locations, both large and small, very intricately supporting the storyline. His vivid descriptions actually transport the readers to the heart of each setting, creating an immersive experience that enhances the overall narrative. And this immersive quality of classic storytelling has become a rarity in modern fiction, which makes and helps Lee's work to stand really apart from others. A true maestro of character development. He introduces a diverse cast of characters with individual and independent characteristics. Lee was also mentioning how people resonated and created a kind of a liking for different types of characters. These characters, they become more than players in the story. They engage readers on a different level, weaving a complex tapestry of emotions and motivations and relationships. His unique storytelling definitely stands out by presenting the narrative in broken episodes that cover different scenes in parallel. He provides readers with an experience akin to like watching a well-balanced artistic and commercial movie. And that unconventional approach definitely adds layers of depth to intrigue to the plot. I feel it's more of a symphony of language, a dance of cultures, and a gripping exploration of the human condition. So it's my sincere recommendation to everyone to actually should also go for Blood and Bombay Black, which I will also do. I'm just waiting for the book to release, and Lee, I'm definitely going to purchase it. I'm really looking forward to read that book, and I'm sure you will have had added a lot of more such intrinsic immersive characteristic capabilities and extensions to those characters like John Reeves and Ipsita. Oh my God, those characters really are not going out of my head. So thanks for that splendid work, Lee. I'm really looking forward to reading that. That's all. I took a lot of time, but I wanted to share this piece of experience with you all.
Thank you, Laksh. Lee, oh my God. Have you been rendered speechless now?
I don't even know how to respond to that. Love and respect, brother. Love and respect, man.
Cheers to that.
Thank you so much, Lakshya. All of us here would agree about Lee's immersive storytelling. This shines not only through his novels, but also in the short stories. Every piece of work that he has written till now has created an atmosphere. It's very atmospheric. So the
Absolutely.
settings, the characters, he pays attention to even the little details. So it kind of draws the readers in. So that is a unique feature that you would find just in Lee's books. But now that so much has been said about Lee's immersive stories and storytelling, we would love to hear a book excerpt from the latest book. So please, Lee, if you have a copy of the book near you, please do read a few lines from the book.
All right. What I'll do is I'm going to read the second scene of the the third scene of the first chapter. And as I said, it's the first chapter, so it's not giving anything away. It's John. You remember John? He's in Tosh, and the Iron Horses, now with their heroin pipeline shattered, have started peddling hash. And what they've done is, well, as anyone in India knows, if you want good hash, you go to Tosh, because they manufacture the greatest hash in the world, so I've been told, Manila Cream. And they've rebranded it as Bombay Black. So John's just made a hash buy, and he's heading back to Delhi. He's going to meet up with Hariharan, the Delhi, who is now the president of the Delhi chapter. And, oh, you remember Sandeep? Poor Sandeep. Sandy was in a coma last time we saw him, but he has recovered and now has been made the head of the task force to track down and effectively destroy the Iron Horses. And Sandy's just caught up with him as John is about to get on his bike and ride away from Tosh after making the hash buy. John does what he does best and well, let's just pick it up, shall we? John turned around slowly and came face to face with a 9mm Glock. Smiling, he kept his hands at shoulder height and froze in place. "Shut off the bike," Sandy growled. John leaned over and turned the key. The bike sputtered once before it went silent. John palmed the key, hooking the ring over his thumb, while he raised his hands and turned back to face Sandy. He interlaced his fingers behind his head. "How you been, son?" John asked with a smirk. "Have they assigned you a new partner yet?" Sandeep's finger twitched nervously on the trigger as his eyes flooded with a hateful black ink. John had mercilessly dispatched of Avinash Kumar, his partner in Goa, over a year ago. "I could put a slug in you right here and right now, John. No one would question it. No one would even care," he growled. "My mama would," John mused. "I doubt it." "Then do it, man. This is your moment to shine. Grasp it," John chuckled. The morning air hung between them, thick and damp, as the drizzle coated both of them in a glossy sheen. John slowly rotated his hips, making himself a smaller target, as his eyes stayed locked on Sandy's. "This is why a career in law enforcement sucks the high hard one. You are always choosing between what you want to do and what you have to do. Not to mention the crappy pay. Let's not even get started on the crappy pay. Am I right, Sandy? Shut the fuck up and stand still." Sandy cautiously slid his left hand behind his back and under his suede bomber, while his right hand kept the pistol trained steadily at the bridge of John's nose. His handcuffs issued a soft click and rattle as he pulled them free from his holster. "The hours are hideous as well, no?" John continued casually. "Always on the job, holidays, weddings, vacations. The Narcotics Control Bureau doesn't care, do they? And birthdays, shit. I can't imagine how many birthday parties you've missed, Agent Bola. You celebrate them on the road, I guess. Is that right? A slug of whiskey from a hip flask and some stale cake out of the glove compartment of your car while you're on a stakeout? Does that more or less sum up your life?" "Hands in front, slowly," Sandy said, ignoring him. John squared off with him, lifting his chin. and spreading his feet. He pushed his shoulders back, balled his fist behind his head, and slowly dropped his arms. Is that how it is, your miserable fucking life? John pressed. Sandy's eyes shone with contempt as John put his wrists together in front of his waist. He took a cautious half step forward and, with the cuffs dangling, reached out with his left hand. Give me your hands, he whispered. John shrugged and, holding firm eye contact, extended his arms towards him. A distant thunderclap from the south, cracked and rolled through the valley. As Sandy reached out with the cuffs, as it faded, John let the key ring slip off his thumb and hit the gravel with a clink. Sandy's eyes instinctively flicked towards the ground. Capitalizing on the distraction, John swung his left arm and hit Sandy's gun. It discharged once and spun from his hand, clattering to the ground. The shot split the morning silence, and there was a monkey, who had been finishing up his chapati, screeched and scrambled across the road in panic before disappearing into the jungle. John smashed his forehead into Sandy's nose. As Sandy buckled in agony, John grasped his shoulders and drove his knee up into his chest with a thud. Sandy crumpled and fell to the dirt. John kicked him savagely in the ribs a couple of times and then stooped to grab his key. In one fluid motion, his left hand scraped through the dirt, grasping the fob, and John pulled a Glock from his cut pocket with his right. He put his boot on Sandy's neck and leveled the gun at his head. Sandy's eyes glassed over as John pressed it with his heel and prepared to squeeze the trigger.
You just leave us hanging with that.
Yeah, well, if you want to know if he shoots him, you're going to have to buy the book and read it.
Not fair. That was some amazing action. Okay, now that we have heard from Lee, I'm sure all of us, some of us, many of us would be onto our Amazon pages. We'd just be wanting to buy the book right away. But hold on, because we have some more speakers. So our next speaker is Shalini Mullick. Shalini is a practicing pathologist. Sorry, just a second. She's an author and a practicing pathologist. Her book, Stars from the Borderless Sea, was longlisted for the Author Awards in debut category. She was awarded a jury appreciation citation at the UNFPA Ladli Media and Advertising Awards for gender sensitivity and has won 2 Orange Flower Awards. She has been an invited speaker at many literary events and is a columnist and panelist for prestigious publications. She has also been a guest in podcasts and career counseling events in schools. Shalini, please.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Chitra. Thank you, Niladri, for having me here. I really don't know whether there is anything that I can add that has not been said, but I'm going to start by saying that some of our speakers were under the weather today. I'm also one of them. And there's a correlation. I think the only 2 people who are not under the weather were the 2 people having beer, Lee and Chetan. So I think maybe that's something for us to try. Anyway, that is on a lighter note. So I have not yet physically met Lee. I have known him through many of the writing groups and the writing platforms which are there. And honestly, I have no. It's not just his writing. It's also his complete generosity that comes through, like Chetan mentioned, and like Lakshya also mentioned. As a person, as an author, he is very, very helpful, as I'm sure you would also have noticed on this group and on other groups. Having said that, I picked up Lee's book. I read thrillers, but honestly, uh, the biking thrillers I may not have picked up if it had not been for one of the review programs someone started. And I was totally immersed in the book. The pace of the book did not let me, keep it down till I finished. And I think that that is something that our readers will look forward to and they will find in this second book also. And the characters that Lee has etched are so multidimensional and so nuanced. It's not just Alex, all the characters, they you become very deeply invested in a character which Lee creates, and I think that is the hallmark of a very, very good writer. So beyond that, about these two books, I really cannot add to what our previous speakers have said. But I also picked up another book by Lee, which is his early book where he's spoken about his memoirs of biking. And I think that one's not being spoken about. So maybe can I tell people about that book too? So that book shows me, it's not just the pace, it's not just the drugs and the police and the Ipshita. There's a lot of wit in that book, which I am totally enjoying. I'm reading that right now, and I'm totally enjoying it. Whether it is Lee telling us how and why he named his bikes, or about his escapades with the traffic police. So there's a lot of wit and wisdom hiding in all of Lee's writing, which I think we need to talk about. Another thing is that Lee is, we know, multifaceted. I mean, you're a musician, a biker, a writer. But even in his writing, because some of the short stories that he's written are very different from these two books, the books we're talking about today, right, Lee? And again, that range as a writer is something that many of us aspire to, and that is something I think, I'm not sure, but I think that Lee does it. It's a conscious effort to broaden the range, the scope of work that Lee is doing, which is always something that good authors try and do. So these were just what I wanted to highlight. I think I am getting the feeling that I'm standing between readers and the Amazon page now after that excerpt. So, and I think everyone's just going to wait for me to keep quiet so that they can go and check out Amazon. Why doesn't she shut up, and why can't we just read the book? So please pick up the book. Please pick up both the books in this series. They're going to be absolutely awesome, rollicking adventures, like most of Lee's conversations are. And all the very best, Lee. Many congratulations. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope to meet you physically soon. But many, many congratulations. And I'm sure this book is going to be even more successful than the first. And
thank you so much, Shalini. Thank you very much. I just I have to say quickly that as Shalini mentioned, we sort of met in writing sprint groups and workshops that we do, and I have to say that she's one of the people that you immediately feel comfortable with, and I think we've sort of built a special relationship wherein there's no pretense, and anything that I've written or experimented with, and I mean, I'm talking strictly now from a very narrow viewpoint, a writer's perspective, that I would never be fearful to share anything that I'd sort of experimented with, or anything I'd just sort of scribbled down because I wanted to try something new. Shalini would be one of the people that I would trust to give me honest and open, feedback. And I mean, sometimes you get honest and open feedback, and it might not be what you want to hear, and so you disregard it. But anything that comes from Shalini, I take to heart, and I believe, I believe, and it weighs quite heavily on. I don't want to get too far off track, but we're involved in some various exercises that we do, and quite often, we'll critique each other's work, and everything that's always come back from Shalini, I've tried to implement and taken very seriously, because I respect her highly as a writer, and even more so as a person. I think she's an absolutely wonderful person. So thank you so much for coming tonight, and thank you for your very, very kind words.
Thank you, Lee. I think it's also about the kind of person you are. The number of people that we've had here and the things that everyone has said about you is testimony to the kind of person and writer and friend that you are. So thank you. My pleasure being here.
Thank you, Shalini. So we move on to the last speaker of the session, and yes, readers will have to wait for a little more while because Niladri is here to speak. He is an author, editor, entrepreneur, and the founder of the Creative Circle. Niladri has penned 6 books till date, including the best-selling Letters of Nine, and has edited over 26 books, some of which have gone on to win prestigious awards like Amazon's Pen to Publish. He founded the Creative Circle in 2021 with a vision to provide the best of services and support to writers of all genres. He is also the chief admin of TCC Writarium, a global community of authors, and the publishing consultant and marketing expert. He takes great pride and pleasure in guiding and mentoring young authors in their pursuit of publication, and is always ready to offer his experience and expertise to anyone who seeks his assistance. Niladri, so please share your insights.
Thank you, thank you. I think there is some, as Shalini ma'am mentioned, there is some coincidence today because I'm also heavily under the weather. In fact, I can feel a fever coming up very soon. Okay, so I think the only so yeah, I mean, I don't. Okay, so the only introduction that perhaps would have sufficed was to say that I'm the editor of this book, Blood and Bombay Black. This is my second collaboration with Lee. I had also edited his other book, A Crate of Rags and Bones. So I'm very thankful to both Lee and Leadstart that they deemed me fit to edit this incredible book. So editing every book is a journey, sort of. You take a journey with the author. You go with the ups and downs in the editing process. And the only way I can describe this journey, or rather what makes this journey special, was the curves it took. We started out at a certain standpoint, and then hashed about it, what to do, especially about the length of the book. It started out as Swarup mentioned and Lee mentioned. It started out as a 2-book, it was going to be a trilogy, and then it ended up being a duology. And Lee's an early riser. I'm a very late worker, so when my days would end and his would start very early in the morning, around 7, we would sit on a Zoom. I would be drooping, and Lee would be all sitting with his all coffee and all pumped up for the day. 2 people at very different stages of the day, and we would hash out plot points and character details and the length of the book and stuff like that. So it was a great experience. I learned a lot. I learned a lot while editing these other book as well. That till date is the only book that made me sit up and clap after one of the stories. Lee knows which one it is. It was, I remember again, it was 3 in the morning, very early in the 3:30 in the morning. I edited that certain part. I read the part, and I actually clapped. I was sitting alone in my room. And the most special thing about this editing journey was, I think the best editing compliment that I've received was from Lee of this book. I cannot say it, this video is going to be on YouTube. I cannot tell you what Lee said, but he did throw an expletive towards me for finding out one little plot point, and it's still the best editing compliment I've received. Because if I hadn't seen that, Lee would have snuck that into the book, and just because of me, it didn't happen, and Lee had to work out, another way to justify that little plot point. So yeah, it was a great journey. It was amazing collaborating with Lee as with Leadstart, and I hope, Lee, that you write many books in the future, and you let me edit more books in the future as well. Don't forget your editor. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, Lee. Thanks to Leadstart, and thanks to everyone who joined in today. I hope the book reaches a lot of new readers, and through this book, Blood and Brown Sugar also reaches new readers, and both the books do extremely well. Thank you. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Niladri. I've often said that there's let me put it this way. Before I came to India, I'd never once in my life had a pedicure. I absolutely refused. I thought it was feminine and ridiculous, and I'm a man and I will not have a pedicure. And we're sitting on the beach in Goa one day, and the lady came along with her bucket and her files and her implements of destruction. And Ruth talked me into it. My wife talked me into it. She said, you just try it once. once I've had one, of course, now I think they're the most amazing things on earth. And I can't believe that I resisted for so many years. But there's only two people I will allow to touch my feet. With this lady in Goa, if I ever find her again, and of course, Ruth. Niladri, you're like my pedicure guy when it comes to books. I trust you absolutely and completely. And I can honestly say that everything that I've collaborated with you on has come out better in the end because of you. And I won't repeat what I called you either, just to keep it PG here. But he did. It was a very minor plot point. And when I wrote it, I knew I was cheating. And it was so small. I thought nobody's going to question this because the plot point was like in chapter 2 or 3. And then, it came to fruition in chapter, like at the end, like 100,000 words later. Okay. And he caught it. He said, "You can't do that, man." And I was furious. I was more angry because I knew that I'd cheated and he caught it than I was at him for catching it. And I'm glad that he did. But it did throw me into a 3-day tizzy trying to figure out how to make it all line up. But that's what makes him so good, and I'll forever be grateful. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yes, guys. Okay, I think it's high time that we had some nice interaction. So there are many people who are wanting to have a chat with Lee. So please unmute yourselves and ask away your questions, any feedback.
Yeah, just a small snippet. And I think I and the publishing team were struggling to convince Lee that this should be two books, not one. And we always assume Niladri is on our side and is a part of our team, and he'll also take care of that. And somehow he ended up siding with Lee, conspiring against all of us, and then making it into a single volume. So and then it was very difficult to, really resist that piece. So just that's a small thing from my side. I'll take your leave and thanks all of you for coming and supporting Lee. We are one of his supporters as much as all of you are. I'll take your leave. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you
for joining.
so
Thank
much.
you very much for, thank you. And let me say just before you go that it honestly wasn't a conspiracy. We tried so hard to logically split it. We stressed over it. Oh, countless hours trying to find a way to do it, honestly. So
I think just if I may just add before Swarup leaves, that I think all of us were working towards a common goal, and that was to make the book as good as it could be. And it just felt right for this book to be a single volume rather than.
I'm sure it was just said in a lighter tone. Cheers.
Sarva also has been here for a very long time. We'd like to hear from you.
This is the first time I think I'm attending a book launch as such, as a virtual one. And it's because of Lee that I've started to gain some discipline in my writing. I'm a starting author. And all those words that have been told of Lee are like 100%, no, 200% true. I'm truly humbled to have known him and most of you here. So hearty congratulations, Lee. I hope you have many more successes.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarva. Anyone else? Pratarth, Rehana.
Hey Lee, hi, this is Arijit here. Hi, so sorry I missed most part of your launch, but then the moment I could, I joined. So congratulations on your launch and congratulations to the entire publication house as well. But really looking forward to reading it.
Thank you, Arijit. Thank you very much.
Yes, Rehana has a question. Yes, Rehana.
Hello, Lee. First of all, congratulations to your book. And I would like to know, how did your addiction to India started, and that motorbike?
How I originally started biking around India.
Yeah, and your addiction to India, the motorbike and all.
Well, I've always been addicted to motorcycles. I got my first one when I was 7 or 8 years old. I had a motorcycle, so I've been riding my entire life. And India, my addiction to India is directly correlated to my addiction to my wife, who is India. I mean, I've never been shy about saying, you know, as a Canadian, I didn't know an awful lot about India. Other than the Taj Mahal was here and cows got to walk wherever they wanted and into your house and so forth. That was the whole Western perception of India. And here I was, you know, and quite honestly, when I was a young man, I was always so I was attracted to like the Brigitte Bardot types, you know, blonde and very statuesque women, and here I am just absolutely madly fallen in love with this tiny little Asian woman, and you know, I just so it was her. I became addicted to her, and she brought me here. And then I fell in love with the country as well. And once I was here, you know, it was a very, very big change, obviously, having been born and raised in Canada. And it was like being on a different planet. And the fastest way I could find or could think to assimilate into sort of my new country, my new home, was to make friends and become a part of the community. And the easiest way for me to do that was to join a motorcycle club. And when I was in Delhi at the time, I was in Delhi for 6 years. So I joined the Delhi chapter of the India Bull Riders, made some very close friends there, and rode, man. We just rode and rode and rode. And again, that's, you know, I credit India and India Bull Riders for sort of reawakening that passion to write in me. And it was due to all those motorcycle journeys that all these story ideas started to bubble up. And Shalini mentioned my first book that I put out, Tales of a Motorcycle Madman. It was a collection of sort of just stories of experiences that I'd had riding around the country. And that's what sort of started the whole thing, because I was being bombarded by all these new sights and sounds and smells and all this fantastic stuff. And it was either write it down or burst, you know. So that's what sort of kicked off the whole writing thing. So it was just one long tragic chain of events, I'm afraid.
That was interesting.
Lee fell in love and relocated to a different country. I fell in love and relocated to a different state. We're almost at par, man.
Okay. Next, Kritat, I think, has a question he's been wanting to ask for some time.
Yeah, congratulations, Leah, on the book launch. I wanted to ask about that. As you said, you are a character-driven storyteller. So, any particular character you liked or character development process you liked a lot? You want to tell us about?
In this current series, any particular character?
Yeah, in the current series.
There's a couple of them I'm very fond of. I know Niladri and I have sort of had extensive conversations about this. I'm a big fan of Alex. I mean, it was his story to be told, and that was the story that was in me. You know, I needed to tell his story. So I'm an awful big fan of his. I'm very, very close with John. I can't seem to kill him off, and that man seriously deserves to die. And I can't seem to pull the trigger on him. So, you know, I like to say that I don't get close to my characters because I kill them off regularly. You know, not just in this series, but in most of my work. And for some reason, those two, I can't seem to get rid of. And I guess my absolute favorite though it might be Sandy. It might be Sandy Bola. And I don't want to give too much away because he's he's a very solid, reliable character in the first book, in Blood and Brown Sugar. And you think you know him, but you don't. You really don't. And he's really going to come to shine in Bombay Black. And we're going to see all different kinds of things from him. And so he's really become very close to my heart as well. Oh man, I like all of them, you know, I really do. But I guess those three would be my favorite. And I got to give a shout out to this new character as well, Bibi. Yeah, you're just gonna have to read and find out about her. She's a whole different can of worms.
Honestly, my favorite character of the book. I have told this to Lee.
I'm more tempted now to buy it.
Great. So many characters to look forward to. I think Sucharita will have a question now. I think she has been listening intently for quite a while.
Hello, Lee. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello, and many congratulations on release of your book. And I've seen your books many times on Instagram, and I've been also following your books also. And definitely the cover page and titles are awesome. So when this particular invitation came, I couldn't resist myself from joining this meeting. So I want to ask you something apart from this book, that if I ask you that there is a book which you want to recommend to all the readers that you should read it in your lifetime, your favorite, one of the favorite book, which it would be?
I have a couple of go-tos that I've read consistently throughout my life. Dracula, I think Bram Stoker is absolutely brilliant. In particular, there's one passage that I bring up quite frequently whenever we're discussing such things, when the carriage is rattling, when Jonathan Harker first gets in the carriage and they're rattling along through the Carpathian Mountains on the way to Dracula's castle, and the wolves are chasing the carriage. And it's a short passage, but it invokes such dread and ominous looming with teeth, you know, and it's just hanging over you, and it's just so brilliantly written, as I think most of the novel is. But that particular passage is you know, I aspire when I'm writing a scene like that. It always comes to mind. Boys from Brazil, Ira Levin, who is a brilliant storyteller, and I love Boys from Brazil because it makes you sweat. You know, it puts you in this impossible position where you know, you're joined along with this Nazi hunter, and they're chasing Josef Mengele, you know, one of the most evil, despicable people that have ever walked the face of the earth, and they're trying to track this guy down so that they can, you know, bring him to justice. And you're all for that, but the methods that they use and the way they go about it are so sleazy and disgusting and slimy. They're almost as bad as the antagonist himself. And so it creates this wonderful tension. It just, and the end of the book is just like a gut punch. It's like, it leaves you in a cold sweat. It seriously does. So Boys from Brazil and Dracula, and of course anything I've written is quite good.
Thank you so much, and I'm definitely going to add all these books, including your books, in my February TBR.
Thank you very, very
much. I couldn't have agreed more about the Dracula.
Oh, and I have to mention Hemingway as well. One of my all-time favorites. Anything Sun Also Rises, Snows of Kilimanjaro is another one that's stuck with me my entire life. So anything by Hemingway is always worth reading.
Yeah, I expected that. I thought you'd say Hemingway.
Thank you, guys. Susan has just joined. Thank you, Susan, for joining in. So we are almost at the end of the session. I just to ask everyone to just go and get Blood and Bombay Black, because it promises to be very, very exciting with fresh new characters to look forward to. if you want to explore the world before you delve into this book, you can go check out Blood and Brown Sugar. It's also available on all major retail platforms. Amazon, Kindle, paperback, it is available everywhere in bookstores as well. So please do go check out this book. Buy both the books if you just don't want to go for this one in particular. Get both of them. You will not regret buying this collection. Thank you everyone who's been part of this journey. And thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Thank you, Lee. And congratulations, big congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. I did neglect to mention, and I'd like to say quickly that while this is the official launch of the book, there will be 2 live launches. For those of you in Mumbai, February 4th, there'll be a launch in Bandra, a live launch. And for those of you in Delhi, I will be at the World Book Fair in Delhi on the 17th, and we're also doing a live launch there. So if you're in either of those two locations, hey man, I'd love to meet you. Come on out and we can have a chat.
Great. So thank you everyone. Please go and buy this book, and this will be up on YouTube. So all of those who are watching, please don't forget to share this video with your friends if they want to know more about the book. The book links will be up on our YouTube video description. So please get this book ASAP. So congratulations, Lee. Thank you, everyone. Good night.